All right, let's take a look at where SAS stores data and how it stores data. You often hear us refer to things like Libnames, Librefs, catalogs, libraries. It's all interchangeable. SAS has a libname statement, also known as a libname. That's how you define the library of where you want to store your data. The libref is literally the name of how you want to refer to that data. The engine by default is SAS 9. If you wanted to connect to a database, you just simply change it to Postgres, Oracle, Teradata, and then you can put database or engine specific properties in there. SAS also comes with a number of default libraries. The work library is the temporary or scratch library. It's automatically created when you start up the SAS system. You can write data to and from that work library. By default, if you don't specify a library when manipulating data sets, they're written to the work library. Additionally, procedures often write data to the work library as part of their execution. When you close down your SAS session, data that you've written to work is deleted. SAS Help is another library. It contains a whole bunch of data sets out there. Um, it's really used in the documentation. So if you ever look at some of the SAS documentation, often they'll refer to data sets stored in the SAS Help library. Finally, the SAS user library. It contains things that allow you to tailor your SAS experience to your needs. Personally, I've never found a use for these. I've never needed to use SAS user in the last 15, 20 years. Here's an example of reading a CSV file and writing it to a permanent library location. Here I first define my lib name, in this case week 1. I then use proc import to read in my CSV file, and then you'll notice that out equals week1.amzn for Amazon. That tells the procedure to write the output to that permanent library. And then finally, when you're reading from that library, proc print here will use week1.amzn to actually print out the first 10 observations of that. Let's go see this in action. Okay, here we are in SAS Studio. Let me clean up my library real quick. Delete that, delete that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to define a new permanent libname or library. So here I've got week 1. I'm going to go read in the CSV file and write it out to that library. This is a permanent library. So if I ever need to come back to this data set, you can see right here in the libraries, I've now got a file sitting out on my file system called amzn.sas7bdat. And I can always come back to that simply by rerunning that libname statement. Finally, I can read from that data set simply by referring my libname.dataset, proc print. And there's the top 10 observations in that data set. Great, let's flip back. Great, now you give it a go. Create a permanent library called MyData pointing to your week 1 folder or somewhere else. Use proc import to import the Google spreadsheet. Change the out option of proc import to point to that new library.google, and you can name your data set whatever you want. And then finally use proc print to print out the 10 observations from that data set. Finally, here's some documentation. You can just simply Google libname documentation, or you can click on the link.